Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be going over and showing you how to install the Blue Ox base plate kit here on our 2018 Ford F-150. So a base plate kit is going to be one of the many components that we need to successfully flat tow our F-150. So in addition to the base plates, we're also going to need a tow bar, a wiring harness, a supplemental braking system, and depending on what tow bar we choose, safety cables. So basically what our base plate does is it provides an attachment point for the towed vehicle for the motorhome via the tow bar. So here's what it looks like hooked up to our motorhome here and attached to the tow bar. So this would be the style we're going for when we're traveling down the road. However, when we arrive at the campsite, we're ready to head in town with our vehicle, we want to go grab a bite to eat. It's very easy to unhook the tow bar. We have a pin on the inside here. We're going to lift up on the outside, pull straight out. Once we have that out, we can go ahead, lift up a little bit on our tow bar and pull out this pin here. Now, our arms should be able to slide down and out. We have a safety cable here, and now we'll just do that same thing on the other side. If you have an electrical cable or a breakaway switch, you'd want to go ahead and unhook those as well. So keep in mind, if you're having trouble removing this pin here, you want to go ahead and break the tension from your arms free. Now the process to do that is going to be based on what tow bar you have, but a lot of them just have a little lever here on the side that'll allow you to unlock the arms rather and pull that pin out. You also may need to pull forward to a little bit flatter ground. Just some tips for you guys if you're struggling getting this pin out. So here's what our vehicle looks like with the tow bar unhooked. Now when we're driving around town, we actually can remove these, so that's another nice feature about this kit is that it has a removable arm design, and that's referring to this silver portion here. Now all we need to do to remove it is, we have a little plunger here on a lanyard. We'll simply pull that, and then we'll twist it out in either direction. So you can see we can go down, we can also go up, just like that. We can remove this, and now as you can see, the entire base plate kit is almost tucked behind the bumper here. Everything's going to have a nice hidden install look, so we're not taking away too much from the overall look of our truck with the base plate kit installed. Most everything is going to be flush behind the bumper. There is one thing that's not, and that's our convenience tab here. This is going to be used for attaching our safety cables, and it's always a good idea to extend these out from the bumper a little bit. That way you're not hitting and scratching on your bumper each time you go to hook those up. I'd also like to point out that all of our base plate kit components, besides the arms here, have a nice black powder coated finish, which is going to help protect it from rust and corrosion over time. So keep in mind, whenever we remove the arms from the actual base plate kit, in your kit here, you're going to get these black plugs, and those are going to simply install into the base plate like so. We want to make sure we have those inserted when we're driving around. That way, if any water gets up in there, we don't have to worry about it rusting the inside of the base plate. So we showed you how easy it is to unhook the tow bar from the base plate kit. Now we're going to show you how easy it is to hook up. So we'll just simply align our tow bar here. We'll line up our 3 holes there. Once we get the 3 holes lined up, you can insert your pin. And then we have this pin and clip on the other side. You want to make sure the nose is facing out. You just simply drop it into place like so. And now we want to take one of our safety cables and simply attach it to the convenience leak. And now that we have this side hooked up, we'll obviously just repeat those same few steps on the other side. You'll also want to go ahead and hook up an electrical cable or a breakaway switch if you have one. So in regards to compatibility, our Blue Ox base plate kit here is going to be directly compatible with Blue Ox motorhome mounted tow bars. However, if you already have another tow bar from a different manufacturer, such as one from Roadmaster or Demco, you can still use this base plate kit here, but you will need an adapter, which we sell here at etrailer. So in regards to installation, I will say base plate kits are some of the more involved components of your flat tow setup. There's usually a lot of hacking and drilling into the vehicle, but luckily with most trucks, the F-150 in particular, you really don't have to do that for the most part. The base plate here is going to be a pretty easy install as far as base plates go. We do have to drill a couple holes on each side, but that's it. There's no more modifications. Let's go ahead and walk you through that entire process now, step by step. So the first step of our installation, we need to come to the front of the vehicle here, and on either side you're going to see these black plastic covers. So we need to remove these. In order to do that, we're going to be taking a trim panel tool. We're going to be coming to the inside, the outside edge of the plastic panel and the inside of the metal bumper. We're simply going to fit our trim panel tool in there, and then we can carefully pry out there to release the clips. So there's a few on the outside and there's a few on the inside as well. We got that one out. Now we're going to go to the other side and remove that same one as well. So once you have that cover off, you may or may not see a sensor behind in this little opening here, and that's for the cruise control. So if you do have those sensors, you'll need to go ahead and remove a couple bolts so we can remove those from the vehicle. But if not, you can proceed to the next step. So now we need to come underneath the vehicle here because we have a nut we need to remove from one of the bumper beam studs. So it's kind of hard to show you back there, but we will show you this. We're just going to give you sort of a broader perspective of where we're going to be working at. So sort of in this area here, directly behind the bumper, we're going to have a bumper beam stud that goes in that we need to remove a nut from using a 21mm socket. Now let's jump underneath the vehicle here and see if we can give you a better look at it. So here we're back behind the bumper here, and we can see that factory bumper beam stud and our nut there. So we'll take a 21mm socket, and chances are you're going to need an extension to get to that as well. And now we're going to break that loose. Now those are on there pretty tight, so if you don't have enough force to get it with your wrench there, you can maybe spray some penetrating oil on that, let it soak in there. It's definitely going to help it loosen up a little bit. We're going to go ahead, finish getting this one off, and then we have one on the other side we need to remove as well. So now we're going to come back outside the vehicle here. In that little cavity that we removed the panel from earlier, we're going to have two more nuts, which we'll remove, two on each side using a 21mm socket. And as we said, we can spray them down with a penetrating oil there in order to help remove them because they are on there pretty tight. They definitely have a lot of torque. So we'll let that sit for a few minutes. We'll go ahead and remove them. So once we have all of our nuts removed, our bumper should be loose, so you want to take precaution when we're undoing those last couple ones. And if you have an extra set of hands, that's definitely going to help you here. Now I can already tell our particular model has fog lights, so I am going to have some electrical connectors. If you have the cruise control sensors that we talked about earlier, chances are you're going to need to unplug some wires for that as well. But now we're ready to go ahead and lift the bumper off the vehicle. If you have an extra set of hands, that's certainly going to help. But we can go ahead and remove our last fastener here. Then we should just be able to pull straight out and disconnect our wiring. So as I suspected, we do have a fog light sensor there on each side that we have a wiring harness. So the way these work is, you're going to have these two blue tabs there at the bottom, and then one of those tabs at the top, you just simply pry outward, and then you should be able to remove each of the connectors from our fog lights. But now we'll take our bumper here, we'll set it aside in a safe place so it doesn't become damaged. Now that we have the bumper off, we're going to have these little plastic shields here around our tow hooks. We need to remove those from each side. We'll just simply pull out like so. So next thing we need to do is actually remove the tow hooks. So these are held in place. You can see the two bolts from the inside of the frame here, where there's going to be two bolts going through the bottom up into the frame. So we need to remove both of those using a 15mm socket. But again, these bolts are going to be torqued down and there's probably going to be some Loctite on them. So I'm going to take some penetrating oil. I'm just going to spray it up top here, let that sit for a minute, and then we'll go ahead and get them out. And again, we need to do this on both sides. Now, if you find that the bolts really won't break free, we can use some heat here. You have a little torch you can stick inside the frame there as long as you're careful. But we'll see how much those are stuck in there. We'll do our best to get them out. I do recommend a 1/2 inch drive though. Yeah, so that wasn't as bad as I thought there, but the more you let that penetrating oil soak in there, the easier they'll be to remove. So now that we have the factory tow hook out, we're going to take one side of our base plate kit here. So it's pretty easy to tell which side is which because the convenience link is going to be on the inside, but it's only going to install one way, so no worries. We're going to take that spacer plate there that we removed earlier. We're going to stick that back into the frame just like so. try to line it up as best we can. Now we're going to take a 15mm socket. We're going to place one of the factory tow hook bolts onto that. And then we're going to pretty much hold it up in the position. I'm going to come underneath there, stick my bolt through. That way I can line it up as best as I can with the frame and begin to just loosely thread it in place. Once we get one started, it should stay there. So now once we have one bolt on, we're going to go ahead and install the second one. But before we do that, we need to take some red Loctite there and apply it to our bolt. And then we can insert it into the rear hole there, line everything up, begin threading it in. And then once we have this bolt holding the base plate in place, we'll go ahead and remove that one and do the same thing by applying some Loctite. So we've got our back bolt in there. So now, as you said, we'll go ahead and remove this front one here so we can apply some Loctite. And once we have some Loctite on there, we'll go ahead and reinstall it. And then we'll tighten and torque both of our fasteners to the specifications in your instructions. So we need to make sure that while we're tightening down our fasteners, that the outside of the base plate kit here is flush to the outside of the frame. So it's a good idea just to go ahead and hold that there until you can tighten all the fasteners, and then we'll come back with a torque wrench and torque it down. So now that we have this side on, we'll just go ahead and repeat that same process on the other side. So next we need to drill out a couple holes. We have 2 on each side, and since our base plate is already bolted to the frame, everything's going to be nice and secure. But we're going to take a 17/32 inch drill bit. If you don't have one of those, you can use a 1/2 inch and kind of wallow it out a little bit. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to take that final size drill bit, we're going to place it in the hole there. We're just going to drill a little bit to get our pilot. And now we can use a smaller drill bit and work our way up until the hole is the final size. So you need to do that on each of our 4 holes, 2 on the outside over here and 2 on the outside of the other side of the vehicle. So we've got a couple sizes up of the drill bits. Now we're going to come back with our final size here and enlarge it so we can stick our hardware into the frame. So now it's a good idea to just go ahead and take one of your bolts here, test fit it into the hole so you know it's the correct size. And now we'll just repeat that same process as we said earlier on each of our 4 holes. So now we're going to take our hex bolts here that come in your kit. You're going to place a split lock washer over that. And then we're going to place a couple drops of Loctite, just like so. And then on the ones closest to the end of the bumper beam here, we're going to be using a Nylock nut. So we'll go ahead and insert our bolt through the side in the frame, and then we'll secure it on the inside with a Nylock nut. So we're going to get that one started, and then we're going to do the same thing for our other hole there, except for the one that's a little bit further back. We're going to be using the flange nut that has a wire welded to there so we can have a little bit more room. We'll go ahead and show you that now. So now once we have our hardware started, we're going to come back with a 3/4 inch socket and a 3/4 inch wrench. We'll go ahead and tighten it down. Now the inside nut is a flange nut, so we don't have to worry about keeping a tool on that. Just go ahead and grab onto the wire at the end. So now, once we have both of our bolts torqued down here, we're going to take a cutoff wheel, we're going to trim as much of that metal wire as we can, and then we'll just simply repeat that same process on the other side. So next thing we're going to do is you're going to take the long straight safety cables that come in your kit and one of your convenience links. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap this around the frame and attach it to our base plate. So there's a pretty big pocket there on the inside. We'll just simply route it over there like so. And now we're going to attach one of the ends of the cable through our quick link. The other end is going to go to a hole there on the bottom of the base plate. And then we'll bring this other end of the cable around there like so and attach the 3 parts. This is going to make it kind of hard to spin that nut there on the convenience link. I'm going to take a wrench there and just give that another 1/4 turn, but that's pretty much it. We'll just repeat that same process on the other side. So now we've got our base plates installed, everything's torqued down, we're ready to reinstall the bumper there. Make sure you reconnect your electrical connectors on each side, assuming yours did have fog lights. And now don't forget, once we have our bumper secure, we can reinstall our black cover plates. And that's going to do it today for our look and installation of the Blue Ox base plate kit here on our 2018 Ford F-150.